Oh, hey, this isn't my channel. What's going on? Oh, I'm doing a collab with Scootakip. I make a video for their channel, and they make one for mine. Sweet. I'm a bit more, informative in my style, so I hope I don't bore you to death. Okay, let's do it. Citizens of Earth was created by Eden Industries in 2015 and is a satirical RPG made in the style of retro RPGs. As soon as I started up Citizens of Earth, I was immediately struck by how much the game resembles Earthbound, from its modern setting all the way to its battle screen. While I definitely enjoyed that aspect at first, it turned out to be a double-edged sword, as living up to one of the best RPGs ever made is a tall task, to say the least. One of the weakest areas is in the game's story. While I really enjoyed playing as the clueless Vice President of Earth, collecting his constituents to solve the mystery of a flying moonbox coffee franchise, the game has trouble establishing itself as something unique or interesting. Sure, it's meant to be a satirical take on games like Earthbound, but it never really breaks away from that gimmick. Where the story side of things falters, the battle system does help redeem it. Now, getting into battles is very similar to Earthbound, in that touching an enemy from the front is good, while getting touched from behind is bad, and gives you a disadvantage, in that you lose a point of energy, which I'll explain in a second. The actual battle screen looks a lot like Earthbound, but the battles themselves function a bit differently. You've got your typical RPG inputs, like running away and items, but attacks and skills are different. As you use a character's base attack, they will gain a point of energy, and saving up enough of these allows you to use that character's stronger attacks and skills. Each character gets quite a few of these as they level up, so much so that most of them are nested within each attack. It's really easy to miss the fact that these are available, as you have to select an attack and then press right to see them all. It's also important to note what kind of attack you're using, as enemies do have resistances, and hitting a resistant enemy will prevent you from gaining an energy point. You also have the ability to switch out your characters, but it's not on the fly like some other RPGs. You have to restart the battle entirely, but it does give you options if you're having trouble. This can be a nice reprieve during longer sections of the game, as there are quite a lot of enemies running around. Probably too many, to be honest. As you fight, you will gain EXP during battles, which can be really helpful as leveling up not only makes you stronger, but completely heals a character. You also gain EXP by checking things out in the world, by completing quests, and enrolling characters in school. So it's generally pretty easy to level up any new characters you get. Another perk is that whenever a character does level up, they gain extra bonuses on stats depending on who else is in your party. Now, despite the large amount of enemies I mentioned earlier, the game is pretty easy on its default setting. There is a character in the game that will allow you to increase, as well as decrease, the difficulty for a variety of bonuses, so it's not something set in stone. Outside of battles, every character has their own unique skill. Some of these are really useful, like the ability to drive or fly, while some are not all that great. For example, the baker's can only be used when you're at his bakery. The use of these skills is definitely a big reason for recruiting characters, on top of the obvious usage in battles, although having to manually select them in the menu every time is kind of annoying. Just give me a special button to use the car, jeez. Speaking of recruiting characters, progressing in the game lands you with a whole lot of quests you have to complete to get them, and it's kind of tedious to sort through them all. Even more tedious is the way the game marks things on the map. Heck, you don't even get a full-size map, just a mini-map, and it's generally not that clear. There's markers put all over the place, and they move around as you do, so it can be frustrating trying to figure out exactly where it wants you to go. The devs should have taken cues from other games with loads of quest markers and sorted this out a bit better. This map issue does underline another fairly big issue with the game, and that's the pacing. Whenever there are story moments, the game shines, as it's quite quirky and funny, but those moments are stretched very far apart. In between are fairly long sections of wandering around, either completing quests, recruiting characters, or looking for things to advance the plot. I don't mind free time in RPGs to get some side questing done, or to explore a little, but Citizens of Earth has too much of it for my tastes. Those who enjoy more open world games and exploring may honestly feel quite differently about it, but for me, this game could have been half as long and I probably would have enjoyed it more. Lastly, I'll touch on how the game looks and sounds. The way it looks definitely hints of Earthbound, but it feels more like an evolution rather than a straight copy. Instead of pixel art, everything is hand-drawn in a very cartoonish style that, despite having some ugly bits to it here and there, I did enjoy a lot. As for the sound, I enjoyed the voice acting a great deal, and thought it was really well cast. I do have a small nitpick here, and that's with the VP chiming in during battles. It is cute and thematically appropriate, but it does slow down battles a little bit. Is it huge? Not at all. But if you're kind of impatient like me, you might get a little bit annoyed. The music of Citizens of Earth is decent, but its lack of greatness is made really obvious by the whole Earthbound connection. It's exceedingly difficult for a game soundtrack to really wow me in the first place, and when you put it right next to one of the best, it just has a snowball's chance. It probably won't get on your nerves, but I don't think it'll be on anybody's minds when they've completed the game. In closing, Citizens of Earth wasn't an amazing game by any stretch, but it wasn't really horrible either. Most of my complaints were nitpicks, but the pacing issue really dragged this one down for me. I found the goofy characters and cartoony art enjoyable, and the battle system was fun, but the long sections of nothing made me less than eager to start up the game. In a way, I guess a game being so-so and kind of tedious is more damning than a game being absolutely horrible. I'll have Aliens Colonial Marines seared into my brain for the rest of my life, but I don't think I'll remember a whole lot about Citizens of Earth after a while. I can't really recommend this, but I can't really warn you away either. You'll have to decide for yourself.